As for Richard Kilton, Richard's actually in chat. I don't know if he's still here right now, but he was actually in chat earlier. So shout out to that kid. So thank you very much. And we have his War Horde list. So he ended up going 5-0 as well at the I said okay, the October GT. So with his 5-0 War Horde list. Now we do have his path to victory as well, which we'll go over. But we have starting off the Beastboss. Beastboss can't be left at home sometimes. You guys let me know, how often is the Beastboss still ending up on your list? With everything happening, there's a ton of Orc players that are playing War Horde. Are you guys cutting your Beastboss, or all of you absolutely finding your way to find at least one on it? I guess I'm one of those gets that at least I'm playing War Horde, I find a way to get one on. But that's just me. You guys let me know. I might do a live poll for this just for my own fun. Then we have, but we also, what we have on it is Kunnin But Brutal, which I actually do like if you got the points. If you got kind of like points for it, I feel like Kunnin But Brutal is one of the most slept on enhancements, especially when you start going for these lists that have mobs. Then it's like, oh, target priority becomes an issue here. How are you gonna kill all of this? Let me fall back and hit you again, huh? So then we have the Big Mac. Instead of having the Drilla, he had the custom Mega Blaster and the Power Claw. Here we have Follow Me Lads for the +2 stacking with Here We Go. Very common right now with what's going on in the meta, but it's so useful to be able to stack that mobility, rerolling the charges, so your unit on average is moving 14 inches, running through those guys and screens, and the Big Mac brings decent fighting profiles. If you fall back, you don't have to take battle shocks. It's pretty fun if guys are still alive during the Waaagh. We have a Big Mac with shock attack on. I'll be honest. Hey, Richard's here. He said I'm here. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up his stuff. What's up, you get? Whoa! I'll be honest, man. Right, man. Boss the boss here. I was surprised to see the Big Mac with shock attack on. Whenever we're talking about it, it's do we bring the DACA? Do I pay for the character? So you let us know in the chat how you felt about him after running him through this event. But I was pretty surprised that you had the Big Mac with shock attack on it, if we're being honest here. Because people are always wondering, well, is he's not really necessarily reliable? And as we look at the rest of the list, it's like, I'm not even sure. Does he go with Burner Boys? I don't think he can even go with Burner Boys. Let me just pull that up. This was surprising me though. pretty wild list right there with that stuff, right? But you let us know what you think with that. I want to know. He can only be led by a Pain Boy. Yeah, that's what I thought. So the Burner Boy can't even be a part of his combo. So it looks like he was just standing by himself. Big Mac Shocker. You let me know, Richard, you're here. Then we have Boss Snikrot for his cheap cost of 75 points. I wouldn't even say the cheap. That's right. I'm not gonna start saying it's cheap because people are gonna think we're overpowered. That's the right cost for Boss Snikrot on our lone op kit. Love to see him. We want more infiltration stuff because it's a whole phase of the game of movement that you get to play extra. That if you don't participate in, the enemy gets to choose where you can stand and where you're going to end up and where your reserves come in and the tempo of the game. So absolutely love it, even if you're paying for the more of that stuff. Then we go to a Deffkilla Wartrike with Supa Cybork Body. Now this, Richard, okay, I'm not for the Big Mac with shock attack gun. Just saying, love you. You're the 5-0 again. I'm here right now, right? So let me get that out of the way. But absolutely love the Deffkilla Wartrike with Supa Cybork Body. That is some index hammer big brain stuff right there, right? He's coming in at T6, 9 wounds, built-in 5-up invuln, 4-up, feel no pain. I can advance auto 6, so even though he's a big stupid base, he can get where he needs to get. I don't necessarily run him the most competitively anymore right now, but I've had games where he's on my list and I still like him. He still feels solid. Art his nails. He can just be flipping enemies at primary. Natural expansion, right? People will put some little trash unit like a marine scout unit on there. He runs up, he kills a couple of them, he just tags it because he has 3 OC, which is very nice. That's one more than most basic transports, like an orc truck, for example. So you can just turn off primary and touch stuff that doesn't want to be touched. It just gets fun. People ignore him sometimes and it's wall time, and he gets out there and starts tagging things, not respectably to kill a whole unit, but you can kill a model or 2, whatever his power claw attacks. And enemies don't want to kill him. They don't feel like dealing with him. Then we have a Ghazghkull finding his way on the list again with he's gonna have, of course, the Big Mac attached to him. Then we have a War Boss, basic War Boss sticking around here. He's gonna go with those 5 knobs, which I love to see that. It feels like people always want to have that in their back pocket, right? It's almost like say you're going to battle and you have your halberd or you have your big battle axe and your shield. You have all your stuff, but you're never not gonna have your sword. That's almost like how I feel like your orcs, your knobs with your war bosses, right? It's like you just need that one tool that's specifically for that one job when you gotta get stuck in. Need that AP, need that small unit to get in there. And I respect it whenever you bring one of those on a War Horde list. Then we have Zodgrod Wortsnagga. So this is right here. This is where we're at right here, dude. I'm loving it. This guy's been playing since Index for sure. Now you don't have to play Zod, right? Zod's pretty cool, but if you're gonna pay for another mob of 20 dudes instead of paying for a big expensive, amount of gits and boys and character stacking and stuff like that, for 2 of these big missiles, you just pay for Zod. Zod doesn't need a transport, very fast. You're now having both units that are minimum moving about 14 inches. And he doesn't have to kill stuff, but he does turn off the enemy and he kills just enough. So I like Zod in here. He's always one of the things I'm considering. Do I put him on the list or not? Some of the War Horde lists I have 20 boys, some of Zod and 20 boys. So I really like that kind of shift. And this is looking like a more tar pity list. Now, of course, you can still kill. But certain matchups, it's like, well, how much do I really need to kill you? You might be playing a trash style list too. Maybe yours, another kind of attrition army. How much is about killing and how much is about just having tools, tar pitting you, being fast? And this is kind of what it looks like our boy Richard was going more into. So I like that little flavor on there. And then as for he responded, actually, thanks for that gift for him being here. He said the Big Mac with shock attack gun was trash. Thank you for admitting that, and I appreciate you letting us know that, because there's some hopeful get out there that right now is on their phone. They're about to be putting like, yeah, well, Ted, I told you I like that Big Mac. And it's okay if you do, because he's pretty cool, but I don't think it goes in War Horde person. And then he said the Deffkilla Wartrike was amazing. Wasn't killing anything, but was amazing. That's how I feel about him too, right? That the enemy never wants to kill them. So you heard it from the Git's mouth himself, the boss's mouth himself, or I guess you read it. Then you hear he had 10 Beastboss boys, of course, for the Beastboss, 20 boys for Gaz, 10 boys. We just love the just boys. Personally, just 10 million boys. Like, you've seen the tier list video, haven't seen it. You know what I like. I like them. Sticky bodies, stuff, transports, trucks, fun. 3 trucks. So not going for a bunch of wagons in this case, going back to the trucks to be fitting out these SWAT teams. You can have one's a snagger truck, one's a boy truck, and then you can have a SWAT team truck if not. So I like the flexibility on multi trucks. 3 is about where I'm at. When you go past 3, it's kind of like you're not really gonna hide any anymore, to be honest. That's my opinion. At least not in GW to be. And then we have 1 burner boy, which is I'm always back and forth about the burner boys. Now I hear a lot of the time from the Gits when I start talking to them, why do you have the burner boys? Because you're just seeing them more and more on lists, just 5 appearing here and there. Typically it's for the Aeldari matchup. People are just like, I just want to have a flamer for the Aeldari matchup, maybe the Tau matchup, stuff like that. But it seems to be very specific for the Aeldari matchup and maybe the Tyranids matchup where you bring flamers. So that's where the burner boys seem to be coming into play. Sometimes as a tech piece, sometimes as the poi piece. Then we have 2 5-man units of flash kits rounding it out. Each one of them, more activations, more stuff, requiring the enemy to take more activations. I can't tell you how many times just 5 flash gifts are just the enemy's like, I don't really have stuff to kill those guys right now. I have to hope they or I'm going to over come into those guys and then now you're gonna just crumb me. So love my flash kits. 1 big brick of Gretchen for Zod. As he said, he likes them and he has more words to say about the god Zod brick. He said played Zod very conservatively and saved him for the wall turn. Just like Gaz, right? Like I said, in my opinion, right, as I run through with this style, if I run it, the Zod unit acts similar to us even if I just had 20 boys. It's just I'm holding them for the Waaagh, and then they're both making contact just like my normal thing. I'm just paying a lot less for what I'm doing here, and it's not killing nearly as much, and maybe it's not as durable, of course, but still durable enough, kill you enough, and it's still fast enough to make contact. And yeah, but now you're playing conservative 2 big mobs that are kind of the open. So there is that to be considered too, Gits, right? Can I stage up with both of these things and not let them get picked apart or the enemy take initiative from me? 2 little minimum sized units of Gretchen just for more stuff. Then you have the Mandos. Mandos are splitting up too. So then just more stuff. So you have boys, you have 3 chucks, you have 2 5 flash kits, you have burner boys, you have Deffkilla Wartrike, Snikrot, a random shock attack gun, 2 Gretchen. So you can see, though he has these expensive gas brick, he surrounded everything else around him with just stuff, just a bunch of kind of like activations, a little bit of the trash bash going on here. So I really like to see it. And then the 5 knobs, as we spoke of. So of course he has more to say here that he's letting us know, but let's take a look. And thanks you for that, Richard. And we're going to take a look at his actual path to, I don't know why I had the wrong get right there. Thank Richard for the path to victory. Another thing to check out is our sponsor, the Baron of Dice. They make high quality custom dice. If you enjoy our content and want to show some love, check out the Baron of Dice custom dice, including Waaagh Tactics official dice. To support us, use our discount code in the description for 5% off, because nobody likes taxes. So let's take a look at his first game and his path to a victory. So it was Adeptus Custodes with the shield hold. So we have Trajan Valores, Blade Champion, Shield Captain, 2 units of Guardians, 1 unit of Wardens, 2 Prosecutors, 2 Venataris, a Witch Seeker, and then double have Telemon Heavy Dreadnoughts. I know that the first, I can't help it, guys. I know you guys are too. I would not be like, man, I'm trying to get my guys into the Telemon. Now, I'm not saying he would let it happen, because this guy was running, he was running the accelerator Culverin and the twin plasma projector. So this guy, I don't know if and he has the punching palm right there too. So he's one arm, one shooting. Maybe you couldn't get a second to him. And I know I would be loving to get into that. But there's a chance you just end up putting guys into Warden, though. They do have their ones per phase for the feel no pains. Whenever I look at this matchup and I try to get too creative on it, I just end up, it just ends up kind of devolving into like a slugfest in the middle of the table. In this case, though, our boy Richard does have more trash. Therefore, he can, act more cagey with like multi-charging units, so that a certain amount of models can't fight, splitting their attacks. Taking them over with secondaries on activations, not necessarily going toe-to-toe with him, but because he has so much stuff, right? Pushing back these Venatari if they're doing their double ingress, right? Because they get ingress. So one of them free ingresses, another one free ingresses, and then if you have something in reserve, that thing can ingress for 1 CP. So it could just overwhelm me with board control. But as we've seen with Richard's list, he was able to have that board control and kind of maintain that with all these units and activations. So 62.1, so not necessarily the highest scoring. Don't know what the mission was in that case, but he did end up overcoming it with the Custodes, which is just, hey, we're getting stuck in, playing for the mission, killing you for points as much as I can, but maintaining my point score. So love that. Orks and Custodes have just like a rivalry here. Then we go into his second matchup, which was into the Aeldari. Now he does have a little things he's saying here in chat about the Aeldari. But we'll talk about the Aeldari real quick. We have Zodgrod War Horde, we have Uhtred, Fugin, Genzar, Slilax, and Magid. 1 unit of Storm Guardians, 1 Wave Serpent, 1 Dark Reaper, 1 Falcon, a big brick of Fire Dragons, 1 Howling Banshee, small unit. That's important. 5 Rangers, 1 unit of Striking Scorpions, 3 units of minimum-sized Whooping Hawk, triple Warp Spider bricks. Very annoying Warp Spiders in this case. But as we were going through the list and we were talking about Richard's list, one thing that he did say here in chat is the boys plus the burner boys were very important into this matchup, like we speak about for effective trades and volume of punches and board control. Mix of those things, having that on your list is what's important. So he had the burner boys, he had the boys on this list, but also he said his fight on death was ultimately very important. Now, when orcs are being pulled away and killed, slowly and dwindled and picked apart by Eldar, if they're move blocking you, choosing the engagements, things can go horribly wrong. But if you're playing that slow game with them, so the mission can be very, very important when you're playing into Eldar to try to get context for it. 55-point win. So it was one of his lower scoring wins there, but he did say that ultimately his fighting on death, having small, fast units and taking board space was very important, and he was able to hold on to that W there. I personally love Zod in that matchup, but he does have the thing of, now I have 2 of these big mobs kind of in the open, which then gives you that kind of like, well, I'm a little bit in trouble here. Yeah, you have your infiltration and such. So very interesting how the Eldar game is working, meta game is working now compared to how it was before. I would always feel very like I could just hyperly aggressive run into them. I think because they were trying to hold, mid-table with like avatars and such, so orcs could kind of like lily pad off that, right? Charge you, get through you. Now I'm halfway up the field with more movement. In this case, they just have little dumb stuff that gets right in front of you, shoots you, gets in your way, disembarks you, or just move blocks you, and then rinses, repeats it. So that's more I guess it's more Aeldari in like the bad way, right? It's more scrawny. So then we go into his third matchup, which is the Gladius Task Force Space Wolf. So it's Arjak, followed by Lieutenant Combi Weapon, Lorgan, Grimnar, Ragnar, and then Wolfguard Battle Leader. Wolfguard Battle Leader. Sorry guys, I've always done that since I started 40. It's just stuck in me now. Blood, 1 unit of Blood Calls, an Intercessor, 1 unit of Jetpack, triple Ballista Dreadnoughts, 1 Land Raider Redeemer, 1 Wolfguard Head Taker, 2 5-man units of Wolfguard Terminators, and then a Wolfen. Again, as Richard had said, that the fighting on death was very important in this. He doesn't have he doesn't have Bjorn, so you're not getting at least the expensive taxation on your fight on death, so it's pretty nice. More guns than you would typically expect, and then he has the Flamestorm cannon, so it's surprising Overwatch in that case. But I like the amount of units you have, Richard has here, the style of list, because he doesn't have stuff for trading and anything that he whiffs on, just killing like a Deffkilla Wartrike. Then he's just kind of set up for giving you good points back on your return. And the ballistas did go up in point. Now the Gladius is still pretty freaking solid, of course, version of ballistas, because they have access to upgrading them in their shooting. So, with like, a mixture of tech and such. And the Wolfguard Terminators do have typically 4 wounds, an interversion of 4 wounds. So pretty nice, just no leader unit sometimes. In this case, he did have Arjak and Logan, so he could stick them with that. And so yeah, but what the one thing that he was saying, Richard was saying, was the fighting on death was absolutely huge here. That helped him a lot in this matchup, as it typically is when you're going into a Space Wolf list. But he ended up having to face a very similar list twice, because as his 4th matchup, again, he went into Space Wolves, but this time it was Saga of the Beast Slayer. So we have Arjax Rockfist, Bjorn the Fell-Handed, an Iron Priest, a Lieutenant with Combi Weapon, Logan Grimnar, and then Ragnar Blackmane, an Intercessor Squad, double Lancers, a Scout Squad, a big unit of Thunderwolf Cavalry, 2 small units of Thunderwolf Cavalry, a Head Taker, double Terminator. Oof, another good, fun, scrappy matchup here. Less volume of shooting, more of like anti-tank, so not necessarily more valuable in this case. As for both those games, he came out on top with his higher scoring wins. I think based on how those units work out and the profiles he had just enough of multi activations and durability and units to draw out their assets and then get good trades on them. So here, Artist Nails fighting on death goes far and goes long. So I like that. Very nice W wins on there, taking out the Space Wolves. We had a good rivalry with them in 8th edition, Saga of the Beast. Logan makes it expensive now. Thank you. So I was wrong. Thank you. So Logan does. Oh, they changed that. Ooh, oh no. Let me see. So you still have to be where you Bjorn. So Bjorn, he had it here anyways on the second list, but he also had Logan. Yeah, Logan does it. Yeah, so they changed Logan Gribna on the sleigh. He's not on the sleigh though, right? There's a Terminator version 100. So he still does actually have to pay for that. Ooh, so even more on your P's and Q's on that. But still, nonetheless, he said he had to pay for those CP and had to do it. So absolutely love to see it. Respect to like the Head Takers and the Terminators and stuff. I like what Space Wolves are working with. And it does come down to, if you're playing the melee army, I take a chunk out of you, you respond, then I hit you back and I break your back, and then hopefully whatever you got left can't shoot through me fast enough. That's where your fighting on death comes through and pulls through, and just gas starts tearing through those 4 wound Terminators. At least that's what I would hope to see in like every. So great job on that. Then we move into his final matchup, where he was saying it was the Drukhari with Sky Splinter Assault. So we have the Archon with Night Shroud, a double Beastmasters. Oh, that's tedious. Slilax, and then a Uriel Rakarth, 1 Cabalite Warrior, 1 Rack, 1 unit of witches, double Raiders, double Venoms, 1 Court of the Archon, a Chronos, double Grotesque, double Mandrakes, double Scourges, and a Void Raven Bomber. So fun to actually see the Void Raven Bomber. It's like the only realistic fly that can be played in 40k because of its interesting movement rules and such. As for this list, how it kind of works out, really happy to have Mandos. I bet weren't you happy to have Mandos on this list, Richard? as we see here, because this, if you haven't played into them, Beastmasters are pretty annoying. They get to scout and they're also fast. So if you're not able to jam this up, these guys will completely jam you up in your deployment zone and really just make the matchup very annoying right off the bat. And I just want to point this out, not in like the bad way. Very close, harsh game, low score in that case. But he did pull it out with a 47-point win. Just the ability of shooting, ignoring overwatches, making contact with you, being really fast, effective small arms, fire into you. That's good. Kind of seems like it would be not easy, but easier than some other version of Ork list to try to pull Richard's list apart in this case and kill some of these smaller units on kind of their terms. So very, very nice that he was able to kind of pull this one actually through against the Drukhari forces, because that would be, one of those matchups where especially you're not really familiar with that style of army. I haven't played them in their new codex at all. No one else who plays me any of them anymore. So that's when you get into that end round and you're like, oops, now we have actually game knowledge that becomes a factor, not just your skill overall. So I'm just familiar with their overall sheets. They have plenty of stuff to kill us. Even typically small Aeldari units you're not that worried about. In this case, they're small arms, they're fighting, they're characters, they're even their transports have respectable small arms. So great job with that win right there. Love that. Love to see that overcoming a very unique style of matchup at the end. So a couple more things he said as well is that, yes, Gaz absolutely kills one of the termies. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then the other charges him, and then he fights them in death. Yeah, he totally should not have done that, but I'm glad that the enemy did. Love to hear that. That's like best case scenario for Gaz, right? He just runs, takes out some veteran Terminators, then another unit with character jumps on him, all crazy Space Wolf like. He takes them out, he takes some damage, gets taken back on the ship. Mad Doc appears out of nowhere, glues his head back on. All right, now we're good into a bigger body. So love to see it. Great job, Richard. Love to see that Orks finally came through with another GT win, 2 in the same weekend. So we have Beastboss with Kunnin But Brutal. I bet Beastboss did well as well too, but he's kind of just like that cherry on top, right? Someone that can do stuff outside of the wall, gets the stuff kicked off, something like that Ballistic Dreadnought we seen earlier, kick that off the field hypothetically. So we have the Beastboss, Kunnin But Brutal, a Big Mac with Follow Me Lads, Big Mac with Shock Attack Gun, who Richard said sucked, a Boss Snikrot, Deffkilla Wartrike with Supa Cybork Body, Richard loved it, Ghazghkull Thraka, a War Boss, Zodgrod Wortsnagga, a 10-man unit of Snaggas, 20 boys, a 10-man unit of boys, 3 trucks, burner boys, 5-man unit burner boys, 2 5-man units of flesh kits, 1 big brick of Gretchen, 2 minimum size unit of Gretchen, a unit of Mandos, and then the Gnaw. So shout out to this git and great job getting stuck in that. Whoa. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!